The stars were silent that night. Patrol ships moved across the edge of human space, scanning for signs of pirates or alien raiders. Everything seemed normal, calm, almost too calm. Then the scanners picked up something strange. A signal. A shadow. Something large was appearing out of nowhere, right in the middle of empty space. At first the crew thought it was an error. A glitch. But then the shadow became real, taking form, shaping itself into metal, into steel. A ship. A human warship. The commander of the patrol ship leaned forward, his eyes fixed on the screen. His mouth went dry. He recognized the design, the shape of the hull, the markings on the side. This was the Horizon, a famous Earth warship that vanished 30 years ago during the Xeran War. It had been declared lost, destroyed in battle, all hands gone. Yet now, here it was, right in front of them, whole and alive. The patrol crew stared in disbelief. The Horizon floated in silence, no weapons active, no distress call, no communication. Just a dark giant resting in the black sea of space. The commander gave the order to send a hail. The message went out, "This is patrol ship Dauntless. Identify yourself." Static filled the speakers. No answer. Again, they sent the message. No reply. The crew began to whisper among themselves. Some said it was a ghost ship. Others said it was a trick, maybe alien technology copying a human design. Yet the ship was real, the scans confirmed it, and its energy readings were far beyond anything they had ever seen. The commander had no choice. He ordered the ship to approach slowly. As the patrol vessel moved closer, the Horizon seemed to awaken. Small lights flickered across its surface. Not the bright steady glow of normal ship systems, but strange pulsing lights, like veins running under the skin of something alive. The scanners screamed with new readings. The Horizon was not only powered, it was overflowing with energy that no human reactor could produce. The closer they came, the stronger the feeling of unease spread through the crew. It was as if the ship was watching them, waiting for them. Finally, a signal came through. A voice. The crew froze as the speakers carried the sound across the bridge. The voice was calm, deep, but distorted, as if spoken from very far away. "We have returned." That was all. Nothing more. Just 3 words. The commander swallowed hard, his heart pounding. He ordered the computer to trace the signal, but it was strange. The voice had not come from the bridge of the Horizon, or any comm system. It seemed to come from the entire ship itself, as if the ship had spoken. The patrol crew sat in silence, the weight of the unknown pressing down on them. Some of them remembered the stories, the history lessons. The Horizon was supposed to be a legend, a ship that fought bravely until the end, a ship whose crew sacrificed themselves to save Earth. And now it was back, after 3 long decades, with no explanation, no survivors waving hello, no wreckage to show it had ever been in battle. Only silence. Only that single sentence. "We have returned." Fear spread quickly. The commander contacted Earth Command, reporting what they had seen. The reply was instant: "Do not engage, do not board, wait for reinforcements." But curiosity is dangerous, and fear makes men restless. The patrol crew could not look away. Through the viewing glass, they saw the Horizon up close. The hull looked both familiar and wrong. The basic shape was human, yes, but there were new sections, new structures that looked like they had grown out of the ship, twisting metal that shone with colors no human alloy could make. Parts of the hull shifted slightly, as if breathing. The patrol ship pulled back, afraid to go any closer. But then the Horizon moved. Slowly, carefully, its engines glowed, brighter than any human ship. And yet, scanners could not identify the fuel source. The patrol commander shouted for a safe distance, but the Horizon did not attack. Instead, it turned as if looking directly at them, then stopped again, waiting. The crew could not understand what it wanted. Then more signals came, bursts of data flying into the patrol ship systems, crashing through firewalls, moving like living code. The computers screamed with alarms, unable to keep the Horizon out. And then, on every screen, words appeared, the same as the voice before. "We have returned." The crew looked at each other, pale and shaking. One officer whispered what everyone feared to ask. "Returned from where? Returned as what?" No one had an answer. The horizon floated silently once more, patient, waiting, as if daring humanity to come closer. The news of the horizon's return spread across human space within hours. Every channel, every report, every whisper spoke of the warship that came back from the dead. Families of the crew who were long declared lost wept and prayed. Some believed their loved ones might still be alive. Others feared what kind of beings had stepped off that ship. Earth Command ordered a secure task force to approach the horizon. No one wanted to risk a panic, yet no one could ignore the ship's sudden reappearance. As the task force ships surrounded the horizon, they kept their weapons charged but hidden, pretending this was only a rescue mission. In truth, everyone was afraid. The last record of the horizon was from 30 years ago, during the Battle of Epsilon Gate. That battle was humanity's darkest hour. The alien Zerans had pushed Earth's fleet to the edge of destruction. The horizon had been the flagship then, a symbol of courage. Its captain, Elias Renner, was remembered as a hero, a man who refused to retreat even when the odds were hopeless. The record said the horizon stayed behind to cover the retreat of civilian transports. The ship fought until its last signal was lost. Everyone assumed it was destroyed, every crew member dead. Monuments had been built, stories told in schools, names carved into the walls of honor. And yet here it was, whole, untouched, as if those 30 years had been nothing more than a dream. A boarding team was finally sent to step inside. The ship's airlocks opened on their own, slow and silent, welcoming them in. As the soldiers entered, the lights flickered on. The corridors were the same design as old human warships, but they were also different. The walls seemed smoother, the panels seemed grown instead of built. Strange markings covered the surfaces, like scars or symbols, glowing faintly in the dark. The team moved carefully, weapons ready. Then they found them. The crew. Or at least what looked like the crew. Men and women in old Earth uniforms stood waiting, lined up as if they had never moved in 30 years. Their faces were pale but alive. Their eyes watched with calm patience, yet something about those eyes made the soldiers step back. They were human eyes, but there was no warmth, no fear, no normal emotion. They looked empty. Captain Renner himself stepped forward. His face had not aged a single day. He spoke in a voice steady and cold. "We told you. We have returned." The soldiers demanded answers. How had the ship survived? Where had they been? Why did they vanish? Renner's reply was simple and chilling. "We walked where time does not move. We learned. We adapted. And now, we bring the gift of survival." His words made little sense, but the proof was all around them. The horizon was more than human technology now. Its systems responded before commands were given, its walls healed scratches instantly, and its engines whispered with energy no scientist could explain. The boarding team's leader pressed further. "Are you human?" Renner tilted his head, as if trying to understand the question. Then he smiled faintly, though the smile did not reach his eyes. "We are more than human now. We are what humanity must become." Unease spread quickly through the soldiers. Some whispered prayers. Others tightened their grip on their rifles. But the crew of the horizon made no move to attack. They only stood in silence, watching, waiting, as if testing the reactions of their rescuers. The soldiers withdrew, reporting everything to command. When the recordings were played back, something strange appeared. The faces of the Horizon crew looked normal in person, but on camera their eyes glowed faintly, like burning coals. Some experts said it was just a glitch. Others said it was evidence of change. The families of the lost crew begged to see their loved ones, but command refused. Too many questions hung in the air. Too much risk. In private meetings, Earth's leaders argued. Some saw the Horizon's return as a miracle, a gift of power that could ensure humanity's survival against any alien enemy. Others warned that the ship was no longer human, that its crew was only a shell for something else. Yet no one could deny the truth. The ship was real, its weapons were unstoppable, and its crew was alive after 30 years without aging a single day. That night, in the quiet halls of Earth Command, an old admiral asked the question no one wanted to face. What if they never left the battlefield? What if they died there, and what we see now is something wearing their skin? The silence that followed was heavier than steel. Far away, drifting in orbit, the horizon rested in darkness. Its lights pulsed slowly, like the heartbeat of a sleeping giant. Inside, Captain Renner stood on the bridge, gazing at the stars. His officers stood behind him, silent, unmoving, like statues. He whispered words no recorder caught, words only the ship itself seemed to hear. And then, faintly, the horizon replied with a hum, deep and alive, as if it understood. Scientists and engineers from Earth Command gathered in secret to study the horizon. The ship was now kept under heavy guard, watched by fleets of human warships, yet it seemed calm, almost patient, as if it knew it was the center of all attention. From the outside, it looked partly human, but closer inspection revealed structures no one could understand. Long, smooth plates of metal curved in ways that human factories could never produce. Pulses of light moved under the surface, traveling like blood through veins, suggesting the ship was alive in some way. When scanners tried to map its systems, the readings came back broken, as if the machines themselves could not look too deep without being blinded. At first the scientists believed it was alien technology grafted onto a human ship. But the more they studied, the less sense it made. The horizon responded to human commands, its consoles still written in human language, but every order was carried out with impossible speed. If told to raise shields, the defense systems activated before the words were even finished. If asked to plot a jump, the engines aligned instantly, showing paths that no human navigator could calculate. The ship was not just advanced, it was beyond comprehension. One test was ordered. A drone fired a single shot at the horizon's hull, only a small laser burst. Instead of burning or scarring, the hull rippled like water, absorbed the beam, and healed within seconds, leaving not a trace. The observers gasped. The material of the ship seemed indestructible. Some whispered it was not metal at all, but something that grew like flesh. The next test was even more shocking. The horizon was asked to fire one of its weapons. At first, nothing happened. Then a deep hum spread through the void, vibrating the very air inside nearby ships. A bright sphere of light formed at the tip of its main cannon, growing larger, brighter, until the scientists feared it would consume the ship itself. Then, in an instant, it shot forward. The beam tore through an asteroid the size of a city, cutting it in half like it was paper. But what came next left everyone silent. The asteroid did not just break apart, it dissolved into nothing, vanishing into dust that sparkled and then faded. No human weapon had ever done that. The silence in the control room was so heavy it felt like a weight. One of the admirals whispered what everyone thought, "That is not our technology." The question now was where the horizon had gained such power. Captain Renner was questioned again. His answer was the same. "We learned. We adapted. We were given what we needed to survive." He would not explain further. He refused to say who gave them the knowledge, or what price was paid. The crew behind him stood motionless, their eyes reflecting the strange lights of the ship, never blinking, never showing emotion. Rumors began to spread among the fleets. Some said the Horizon's crew had been taken by an ancient race, trained and changed until they were no longer human. Others claimed the ship had crossed into another dimension, where physics itself was different, and returned carrying the laws of that strange place. But the most disturbing theory whispered in the halls of command was that the Horizon had not been given technology at all. Instead, the ship itself had become something else, something alive, and the crew were no longer its masters but its passengers. To test its limits, command ordered a mock battle. A fleet of drones, armed with heavy weapons, attacked the Horizon from all sides. What followed was not a battle but a slaughter. The Horizon moved with impossible grace, faster than anything so massive should. Its weapons fired with terrifying precision, cutting down drones before they could even target. Missiles launched toward it vanished mid-flight, absorbed by a shimmering field that seemed to swallow matter whole. Within minutes, the entire fleet of drones was destroyed. The horizon had not even taken a scratch. The human officers watching felt both awe and dread. With a ship like this, Earth could never be threatened again. No alien race could stand against such power. But at the same time, a quiet fear grew in their hearts. If the horizon chose to turn its weapons on Earth itself, who could stop it? After the test, the horizon powered down its weapons on its own, as if satisfied. Captain Renner sent only a short message. "You see now. Humanity is safe. We are ready for what comes next." His words were meant to reassure, but instead they made many uneasy. Ready for what? What did he know that they did not? That night, as the fleets remained on guard, strange reports began to come in. Engineers working near the horizon claimed their equipment stopped functioning when close to the hull. Others reported hearing whispers in their heads when they walked past the docking bay, voices calling their names, promising knowledge. One technician swore he saw the metal of the horizon shift slightly, like it was breathing, and that its glowing veins pulsed in rhythm with his own heartbeat. Most dismissed these stories as fear and imagination, but deep down, no one felt safe. The horizon had returned with technology beyond understanding. It could protect humanity, yes, but it could also consume it. And as the stars burned quietly above, one truth settled like a shadow in every mind: this was only the beginning. The horizon drifted in orbit above a barren moon, surrounded by human fleets that watched it day and night, yet no one felt in control. The ship seemed content to wait, silent and patient, but those who went near it returned with stories that spread like fire. Some said they heard voices whispering their names when they walked the corridors. Others said the walls seemed to breathe, shifting slightly as if alive. A few claimed they saw shadows moving where no one stood, flickers of shapes that vanished the moment they turned their heads. At first these were dismissed as fear or imagination, but soon the reports grew too frequent to ignore. Scientists interviewed the crew of the Horizon, hoping to uncover the truth. The answers they received only deepened the mystery. Captain Renner spoke calmly, explaining that the Horizon had crossed into a place he called the silence between stars. He described it as a region outside time, where no clocks moved, no bodies aged, and no hunger gnawed at the flesh. It was there, he said, that voices came to them. "They taught us," Renner explained. "They showed us how to shape the ship, how to turn steel into living matter, how to bend energy until it obeyed thought itself. Without them we would have perished. With them, we became more." The scientists pressed him. Who were these voices? Aliens? Machines? Gods? Renner only shook his head. "They are not what you think. They are older than names. They do not live as we live, but they are real. They guided us. They demanded nothing but trust." His words unsettled the listeners. The idea of unseen beings guiding humanity into forbidden knowledge was dangerous, almost blasphemous. Yet his calm certainty made it sound believable. Other crew members were less willing to talk. Some remained silent through every question, their eyes cold, their lips pressed tightly shut. One woman trembled whenever the voices were mentioned, as if afraid something would punish her for speaking. Another man began to weep quietly, and would not stop until he was taken away. It became clear that whatever had happened during those 30 years had left marks deeper than flesh. Command grew divided. Some leaders believed the Horizon was proof of destiny, that humanity had been chosen by higher powers to rise above the galaxy. Others warned that no gift came without a price, and that such knowledge could never be trusted. Meanwhile, the whispers continued. Engineers repairing the docking station near the Horizon reported dreams that felt too real, dreams where they stood inside endless halls of black stone, hearing a chorus of voices whispering promises of power. A few began to act strangely, drawing symbols on walls they could not explain, repeating phrases they did not understand. Medical teams discovered nothing wrong with their bodies, yet their minds carried traces of something unnatural, patterns in their brainwaves that did not exist before. Fear began to spread among the fleets guarding the horizon. Some soldiers refused to stand watch near the ship, saying they could feel it staring at them. Others begged to be transferred away, claiming they would go mad if they stayed any longer. Yet despite the fear, no one dared to attack or destroy the horizon. Its power was too great, its weapons too terrifying. The possibility that it could save humanity from alien threats was too valuable to ignore. The Whispers themselves seemed to sense this. One night, every comm screen in the orbiting fleet flickered with static, and then a single sentence appeared in white letters. "We will guide you to." The message lasted only seconds before vanishing, but it was enough to send waves of fear across every ship. Command tried to calm the panic, saying it was only a hack, but the soldiers knew better. No system had been breached, no signal had been detected. The message had come from nowhere. On the horizon's bridge, Captain Renner stood silently, his crew behind him like statues. He looked out at the stars, his expression unreadable, and when asked what the message meant he only replied, "The voices have chosen. Humanity will not be left behind." That answer frightened people more than any silence. What if these voices had already taken root? What if they were not guiding humanity but reshaping it in their own image? Questions filled the minds of scientists, soldiers, and leaders alike. And yet through all the whispers, through all the fear, one fact remained clear. The horizon had returned with knowledge that should not exist, knowledge that was now in humanity's hands whether they wanted it or not. The whispers grew louder with each passing day, spreading through dreams, through static, through the silent spaces between words. It felt less like guidance and more like invasion, but no one dared to admit it. The horizon waited, pulsing faintly with its living lights, as if listening to every heartbeat around it. Something had come back with the ship, something that did not belong to human space. And in the quiet hours of the night, more and more people began to wonder if the horizon had returned at all, or if it had simply brought something else home. The galaxy had been watching the horizon in silence, but silence never lasts. Weeks after its return, the old enemy came again. The Xeran fleet appeared on the edge of human space, a storm of warships larger than anything seen since the last Great War. Their commanders sent no warning, no demand, no call for surrender. They came only to destroy. Panic spread across human colonies as reports filled the airwaves. Earth Command scrambled its fleets, preparing for a battle they feared they could not win. The horizon remained in orbit above the barren moon, pulsing faintly with its strange living lights, calm as if it had been waiting for this very moment. Captain Renner finally spoke, his voice transmitted to command. "Stand down. We will deal with them." At first the admirals refused. The horizon was too unpredictable, too dangerous. But as the Xeran fleet advanced, it became clear no other choice remained. Humanity's weapons were strong, but against such overwhelming numbers they would break. And so the order was given. The horizon moved. For the first time since its return, the warship stretched its wings of fire. Its engines ignited with a glow that bent space itself, propelling the ship forward faster than any human vessel could dream. The fleets of Earth watched in awe as the horizon closed the distance to the Xeran armada alone. The Xerans opened fire immediately. Beams of plasma, torpedoes of energy, missiles the size of towers, all flew toward the single ship. But the horizon did not flinch. A field shimmered around it, not like human shields but something deeper, a ripple in reality itself. Every weapon that touched the field vanished, erased as if it had never been. And then the horizon answered. Its main cannon lit with impossible brightness, a sphere of pure light forming at its core. The crew of Earth's fleets shielded their eyes even from across vast distance, for the light felt alive, burning through metal and soul alike. When the beam was released, it did not merely strike, it consumed. A Xeran battleship, proud and armored, melted into dust in the blink of an eye. The armada recoiled, but the horizon pressed forward. Its weapons sang in silence, each shot erasing another warship, tearing apart formations that once crushed entire human fleets. The Xerans tried to scatter, tried to surround, but the horizon moved with unnatural grace. It was not fighting like a machine. It was fighting like a predator. Within minutes, dozens of Xeran ships were gone, dissolved into glittering dust that drifted through space like the ashes of stars. The rest of the fleet panicked, sending desperate signals, but no help came. The horizon unleashed another wave of fire, its weapons bending reality, striking from angles that defied physics. Ships exploded without being touched, as if the mere thought of destruction had been enough. Watching from afar, the human fleets could not believe their eyes. What they saw was not a battle but an execution. The mighty Xeran armada, once feared across the galaxy, was being dismantled by a single warship. And yet no joy filled their hearts. Instead there was fear. Fear at the ease, the casual power, the inhuman speed. When the last Xeran ship finally fell, the horizon did not chase the survivors. It simply stopped, drifting among the wreckage, its lights pulsing slowly as if satisfied. Captain Renner's voice came through again, calm and cold. "Humanity is safe. You see now what we bring." His words echoed through the command channels, but no one cheered. Every officer, every soldier, every citizen who saw the battle knew the truth. Humanity was safe not because of strength, but because something beyond them had chosen to fight in their name. On Earth, leaders gathered in silence. Some called the horizon a miracle, a weapon sent by destiny. Others whispered it was a curse, a shadow hiding inside human flesh. The colonies celebrated survival, but even in their joy a question grew like poison. If the horizon could destroy an entire fleet so easily, what could stop it from turning against humanity itself? Reports came in from the survivors of the battle. Xeran ships fleeing the massacre claimed the horizon's weapons tore holes in reality, wounds in space that still burned with unnatural light. Their commanders vowed vengeance, but their fear was clear. They no longer saw humanity as prey. They saw humanity as something untouchable, something guarded by an impossible monster. And yet, within the halls of Earth Command, doubt spread. The whispers that had haunted soldiers now seemed louder. Some officers reported hearing voices during the battle, not only aboard the horizon but echoing through their own ships, urging them to watch, to witness, to believe. Others said they dreamed of endless darkness filled with glowing eyes, whispering promises of power. Captain Renner gave no explanation. He only repeated the same words. "We are ready for what comes next." His crew stood behind him, silent, unchanged, unblinking. The horizon floated in victory, its impossible technology burning into the memory of all who saw it. But victory felt like the shadow of something far greater, something waiting beyond the stars. The first test was complete. And the galaxy would never forget it. The battle was over, but peace did not follow. The destruction of the Xeran fleet spread across the galaxy like wildfire, and the name of the horizon was carried on every tongue. At first there was silence, a stunned awe that humanity had survived what should have been annihilation, but awe quickly turned to fear. Human colonies celebrated, yet even in their cheers there was unease, for they had all seen the recordings, they had all witnessed a single ship cut apart an entire armada as if swatting flies. Allies who once stood beside Earth began to send nervous messages, demanding answers. How had a 30-year-old warship returned with weapons that broke the laws of physics? What had humanity done to create such power? And more importantly, would they use it against their friends? In hidden meetings, alien ambassadors whispered that Earth was no longer weak, no longer a desperate survivor, but something dangerous, something unnatural. The balance of the galaxy had shifted overnight, and not everyone welcomed it. Within humanity itself, doubts spread like cracks in glass. Soldiers who once saw the horizon as salvation now woke in the night shaking, hearing the whispers of unseen voices in their dreams. Engineers refused to step aboard the ship, claiming that every time they touched its hull they felt something watching from the inside. One technician tried to take his own life, screaming that the ship was inside his head, whispering promises he could not ignore. Earth Command tried to silence such stories, but rumors cannot be caged. Soon entire fleets were speaking in hushed tones, saying the horizon was not a ship at all but a living being, one that wore a human shape to trick them. Leaders argued in endless circles. Some believed the horizon was a divine gift, proof that humanity had been chosen to rise above the galaxy. They spoke of destiny, of a new age where Earth would lead with power no one could challenge. Others saw only a curse, a parasite that had returned home wrapped in steel and false hope. The fear grew worse when strange events began near the docking stations. Lights flickered whenever the horizon passed close. Computers glitched, systems froze, and sometimes voices whispered through the comms even when no one was speaking. A patrol captain swore he heard his dead brother's voice coming through the speakers, begging him to come aboard. Another reported that he saw shadows of people walking the halls of his ship, shadows that vanished when touched by light. None of it could be explained, yet all of it was real enough to break nerves. Trust began to crack. One allied fleet from the Darnak Confederacy demanded that the horizon be dismantled. They argued no race should wield such power, not even in defense. When Earth refused, the Darnak withdrew their alliance, calling humanity a danger to the galaxy. Others soon followed, either out of fear or jealousy, and one by one, the bonds Earth had built over decades began to unravel. Humanity stood stronger than ever, but more isolated too. Inside the horizon, Captain Renner remained calm. When questioned by command about the spreading fear, he only said, "Fear is the sign of change. Do not resist it." His words did not comfort anyone. His crew stood behind him as always, silent, watching, their faces unchanged, their eyes cold and steady. Not one had aged in 30 years. Not one blinked when spoken to. It was as if they had all been carved from the same stone, human in shape but hollow in spirit. Whispers claimed they were not alive at all, only shells moved by whatever force had remade the ship. But no one dared to confront them directly. The fear deepened when strange dreams began to spread across entire fleets. Soldiers, scientists, even civilians reported the same visions, endless dark halls filled with glowing veins of light, and a chorus of voices whispering, "We are waiting." Doctors could not explain how thousands of people could dream the same dream, yet the truth was undeniable. Something was reaching out, spreading from the horizon into every mind that came too close. A council of admirals met in secret, their faces grim. Some argued to destroy the ship while there was still time, before humanity became a slave to the whispers. Others refused, saying the horizon had already saved them once and might be the only thing standing between Earth and extinction. The debate ended with no decision, only silence, because deep down they all knew the same truth: if they tried to destroy the horizon, it would destroy them instead. That night, as fleets drifted in uneasy guard around the ship, the horizon pulsed with strange light, brighter than ever before. From its hull came a deep hum, not like engines but like a heartbeat. Those who heard it felt their own hearts match the rhythm, pounding in perfect sync until the hum faded. Some fainted. Others fell to their knees, unable to explain why tears streamed down their faces. And when Captain Renner appeared on every comm screen, speaking with that calm voice, the galaxy listened. "You are afraid," he said. "But fear is the path to strength. The voices have chosen humanity, and nothing can undo that. You will see. You will all see." His words spread faster than any fleet, carried to every colony, every world, every ally. And with those words the fear that already shadowed the galaxy grew heavier, darker, until even the stars themselves seemed to burn a little colder. The whispers had grown too strong to ignore. Fleets trembled, colonies panicked, and even Earth Command could no longer pretend that everything was under control. Something had to be done. In secret, a small team of specialists was sent aboard the horizon with one mission only: to find the truth hidden in the ship's systems. They carried advanced scanners, hacking tools, and the most secure equipment humanity could build. Captain Renner welcomed them without resistance, smiling as though he already knew what they sought. "The ship will show you," he said simply, before leaving them to their work. At first the mission seemed hopeless. Every attempt to pierce the horizon's computers was blocked. Firewalls shifted like living things, adapting to every code they tried, pushing them out as if the system had a mind of its own. But persistence paid off. After days of careful probing, one of the specialists found a door, a fragment of old data buried deep beneath the layers of alien design. It was the black box recorder, the last memory of the horizon before it vanished 30 years ago. Against the warnings of their commanders, they opened it. What they saw changed everything. The recording began with the Battle of Epsilon Gate. The horizon fought bravely, firing every weapon, shields collapsing under the endless fire of the Xeran fleet. The voices of the crew echoed through the data. Fear, determination, sacrifice. They knew they were not going to survive. Captain Renner gave the final order, telling the crew to hold position and cover the retreat. The ship shook with explosions. Alarms screamed. And then, in the middle of chaos, something impossible happened. A tear opened in space before the horizon. It was not a wormhole, not a jump gate, but something darker, a wound in reality itself. Blackness poured from it, deeper than night, filled with whispers that bled into the minds of the crew. The horizon was pulled inside before anyone could react. The recording grew distorted, filled with static and strange sounds that were not human. Shapes flickered in the dark, shapes too large to understand, moving like shadows across an endless abyss. The crew screamed, not from pain but from the voices clawing into their thoughts. Then the recording cleared. Time seemed frozen. The crew stood still, their bodies lit by a pale glow, their eyes wide as if staring into eternity. A chorus of whispers filled the ship, promising survival, power, eternity. "You will not die," the voices said. "You will become." The recorder ended there. The specialists stared in silence, their faces pale. This was no miracle, no divine gift. The horizon had not been saved. It had been taken. Something in that place beyond time had claimed the ship and its crew, reshaping them into what they were now. They were not survivors, they were hosts. When Earth Command reviewed the recording, arguments broke out. Some demanded the horizon be destroyed at once, before the infection spread to all of humanity. Others argued it was too late, that the ship was already part of them, that the knowledge it carried was now humanity's only hope in a galaxy filled with enemies. But even as they argued, something more terrifying came to light. The specialists discovered that the horizon systems were not separate from the crew at all. Every console, every circuit, every weapon was tied directly into their minds. The ship lived because the crew lived, and the crew lived because the ship sustained them. They were one entity now, bound together, no longer human, no longer machine, but something in between. And worse, the whispers in the black box did not stop with the recording. They continued, faint but clear, as if whatever had spoken 30 years ago was still speaking now, still listening, still waiting. When this revelation reached the fleet, fear turned into dread. Soldiers refused to serve near the horizon, officers begged for reassignment, and entire colonies demanded the ship be kept far from their worlds. Yet the horizon remained calm, drifting in the void, its lights pulsing like a heartbeat. Captain Renner addressed humanity once more, his voice steady and cold. "You see now what we are. We are not lost. We are not broken. We have been chosen. You fear the voices, but they are the future. They gave us strength, and through us, you will rise." His crew stood behind him, their faces expressionless, their eyes glowing faintly with the light of the ship. No one could deny what they saw. The horizon had not returned to serve humanity. It had returned to change it. And deep within the silent corridors of the ship, the whispers grew louder, as if laughing at the fear they had sown. The secret was revealed, and it was far worse than anyone had imagined. Humanity had not regained a lost warship. It had invited something alien and eternal into its heart, and now there was no turning back. The truth was out, and the galaxy trembled beneath its weight. The horizon was no longer a legend of sacrifice but a shadow of something far older, a living weapon carrying whispers from beyond time itself. Humanity faced the greatest choice in its history, but no one could agree on what must be done. Some leaders argued the ship should be destroyed before it spread its influence further, but others saw only opportunity, a chance to hold power no other race could match. As the debate raged, the horizon drifted silently near Earth, its living lights pulsing in rhythm with the planet below, almost as if it were breathing alongside humanity. Fleets surrounded it, weapons armed but fingers hesitant, for no one truly believed they could win if the ship chose to resist. In the colonies people protested, some shouting that the horizon was humanity's savior, others calling it a parasite that would consume them all. Entire worlds split in chaos, neighbors turning against neighbors over whether the ship was salvation or doom. And through it, all the whispers spread, no longer faint dreams but voices slipping into comms, into broadcasts, into the silence of empty rooms. "Do not fear us," they said. "Join us. Become more." Inside Earth Command, the decision was forced. A final council was called. Every admiral, every leader, every voice of power gathered in one chamber to decide the fate of the ship. Should they order its destruction, or should they embrace its impossible strength? Yet even as they spoke, the walls shook, the power flickered, and the voices cut into the chamber itself. Captain Renner appeared on every screen, his face calm, his eyes glowing faintly. "You debate as children do," he said. "But the choice is already made. The ship has chosen. The future is here." Panic filled the council. Orders were shouted, fleets told to prepare, weapons aimed at the horizon. For one breathless moment, humanity stood on the edge of war against itself. And then the horizon moved. Its engines flared with impossible light, bending space around it like water. The fleets scrambled, preparing to fire, but Renner's voice froze them. "If you destroy us, you destroy yourselves. We are not apart from you. We are within you already." His words were not a threat, but a truth. Across the fleet, soldiers clutched their heads as whispers roared inside, voices flooding their minds, showing visions of endless dark halls, of stars burning and collapsing, of humanity standing tall among alien empires not through fear but through domination. Some wept in terror. Others smiled, as if touched by revelation. Earth Command gave the order at last. Fire. Dozens of missiles streaked through the void, beams of plasma carved toward the horizon. But none reached their mark. The ship's living shield shimmered, and the weapons dissolved into nothingness before touching its hull. The horizon pulsed brighter, its veins glowing like rivers of fire, and in one instant every weapon system across the human fleets went dark. Screens died, engines failed, ships drifted helplessly. The horizon had taken control. Silence filled the void, broken only by Renner's voice. "You cannot fight us. You cannot end us. But you can join us. Together, humanity will never fear again." His crew stood behind him, their eyes burning with the same glow as the ship, no longer men and women but extensions of something greater. On Earth the people watched in horror and wonder as the horizon hovered above, a god made of steel and whispers. The council faced its final choice, not whether the horizon would survive, but whether humanity would accept what it offered. Some fell to their knees, declaring the ship was destiny. Others screamed that it was slavery, a slow death of the soul. But the truth had already taken root. The whispers did not wait for permission. They flowed through every comm, every dream, every thought, weaving themselves into the fabric of humanity. Resistance was not enough. The ship had already chosen its home. Captain Renner's final words sealed it. "We are not your future. We are your present. The horizon is humanity now." And with that the ship's light flared, stretching across the skies of Earth, a pulse that sank into every living being, binding them closer to its will. Some embraced it, others fought it, but none could escape it. Humanity's choice had been stolen, replaced by something inevitable. The horizon had returned not as a warship, not as a hero, but as a seed of transformation. Whether it was salvation or damnation no one could say, but one truth was undeniable: the age of humanity alone was over, and the age of the horizon had begun.